Hello and welcome to the delicious recipe here on UPRN. If you were watching later on, because this is a pre-record for Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, this will be running on UPRN, the delicious recipe. You can check us out on UFO Gods and Extraterrestrials. That's the YouTube channel, and the other YouTube channel is UFO Paranormal Radio, UFO Paranormal Radio. That one's done twice. And then any UPRN, United Public Radio, on all other platforms, iHeart, Spreaker, SoundCloud, etc. They are running also on those ones as well. And you can check those all out for other things. I want to thank my production crew as always. Hey, you, Kitty Pot and Blaze, and the new member after Valentine's Day there. I called him Squello. He's a Squishmallow, so he's the next one. And my production team is always great because they never talk back. They always listen to the best listeners that are out there. But tonight this one I titled Just an Olive. And I have on today, my guest is Lorien Fenton. Her show, The Fenton Perspective, that it airs on another show, another network, not on UPRN. But welcome, Lorien.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here with you, Dale. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, it's great to have you on there. I said, I think it was a long time ago when my other half there, Laura Lee, was doing a show on, I think, late nights in the Midland or something like that. That was how we sort of met up. Well, Laura Lee knows you more than I guess than I do, but it was an enjoyable time out there. But you have this other show, the Lorien Perspective. Would you like to talk about that?
Oh, sure. The Fenton Perspective has been on the competitors network. I hate to say that because you know what? There's room for every network that's out there. And surprisingly enough, we're one of your network and my network were the last two standing that have been around for any length of time. Everybody else has gone away. It's mind
Right.
boggling to me,
Mm-hmm.
because we're only basically most of the people at our network it's Revolution Radio, by the way, folks. Most of the people there don't do podcasting. They do straight old school audio, and we started out as a prepper network, and it turned into God knows what. But but your network was now. Who's the owner of your network again?
Joe
Joe
Montaldo.
Montaldo.
Yeah,
Yes, he's a
and,
ufologist. So your network always started out as kind of a UFO network, which is wonderful.
yeah.
And I really enjoyed the network. And now you're doing a mix of podcasting and audio only, and it's really cool. And we're
Mm-hmm.
starting to do that over Revolution Radio too. I think we're a little more political, a little more controversial and conspiracy oriented. But hey, you got to have something for everybody, right?
That's the way it is. Like my show, The Delicious Recipe, I throw everything in the pot and see how it tastes at the end. Conspiracy,
Exactly.
UFOs, cryptids, paranormal, everything, and also on this network there too. Yeah, it was sort of the UFO, paranormal, ghosts and stuff like that. But there is music and there is also political commentary as well. There's
Wonderful.
lots of different things, lots of different ingredients to sample and food tastes or whatever, if I keep it on the food sort of uh topic there. But yeah, so I had watched some stuff there that you had done, and how did you get into I guess the paranormal or the UFO stuff? Where did that sort of start for
Oh
you?
my god. Oh my god. Do you have 12 hours? Because
we'll,
literally,
we'll we'll do a quick synopsis of it, I guess. Or
okay, I guess we're going to have to. Well, most people know that I practically died or did die when I was about a year and a half old. And
okay.
my grandmother saw an angel over the crib in the hospital telling her that I was going to be okay. And it was the same angel, quote, alien angel or alien or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
telling her that told her when she was 13 years old and she was dying of rheumatic fever. It flew in her window, apparently, and told her she would be okay and that she had work to do. I'm like, okay. And then the angel told her the same thing about me. And then later on, when I had my face to face with God at one point, or the AI or the source or whatever we want to call it, the guy that makes the aliens, appear in our world,
Mm-hmm.
um, or the entity or whatever it is, I, I was told the same thing. I was pushed back into my body, and they said, "You've got work to do." I was like, "Oh no, no, I don't want to go back. Are you kidding
Uh,
me? This is horrid."
uh,
Oh my God. And yeah, so that's another whole story in itself. And it starts, I think, pretty much my story starts at 6 years old well, no, it starts at a year and a half old when I almost died. But at 6 years old, basically, and I don't know how any other way to say it except for I manifested a rabbit. So, there you go. That was the beginning, and it just got wilder from there on out.
mhm.
And when I finally get my book done, each little chapter is going to be an experience, and I've already got like 70 chapters
Oh, wow.
of crazy wild experiences. Well, maybe
Oh,
it's not quite 70. I
that
think I pared it down to about 55.
that's almost
That
like a
will
Lord of the Rings trilogy you got going on there.
Oh my God, it feels like it. And what's interesting is I pretty much had a normal life. I was an artist, so God knows that that's normal. And I was a psychic, so God knows that that's even normal too. Before I really got heavy into ufology,
Mhm.
the ufology came out of the mind control and super soldier summits that I put on in 2012, 13, and 14. But I had started a MUFON group in 2010, 11 ish. Around
Okay.
there, I started a MUFON group here in
Mhm.
Northern California.
Okay. And people that don't know what MUFON, that's what
Oh,
Mutual
yeah.
UFO Network, or
Yes,
however.
Mutual UFO Network, and they've been around for over 50 years now. They started in 1969,
Mhm.
and they are just a wonderful organization. I mean, hey, it's just like any other organization, it has its problems, but here's the best part about MUFON. I put on a meeting every month, and I don't get up there, and I don't like a lot of the meetings will have just very dry stuff about UFOs. I always have a speaker, and I always have somebody that's having, like major contact experiences. And
Right.
I will have a scientist every once in a while discuss, what the nuts and bolts of ufology could be, and the Nimitz things, and what the government's doing right now. But mostly I would say like 8 months out of the year, we're talking aliens.
Okay.
And MUFON has never once told me I couldn't do that. And even
Mhm.
in October every year, I put on a conspiracy month. And
Mhm.
last year we did JFK assassination. The year before that, we did electromagnetic frequencies and 5G. And,
Right.
I do all kinds of crazy stuff. And MUFON just says, you know what? As long as the members sign up or at least want to join MUFON because of what you're doing, we're very happy with you.
Right. Well,
And
they're all sort of connected in a way. That's my idea of it. But we'll get into that. But just to go and say, uh, well, you have something that's coming up there, anyways. This was also
oh
a
yes,
partial
yes,
promotion there too, as well. So
yeah, my commercial promotion. I guess I better jump right into it. Yes,
yeah.
I've got a fairly. It's not a big conference. It's called UFOCon 2023, and you can find it at UFOCon2023.com. And it's not even out in a search engine anywhere. I mean, if you type in UFOCon, you're going to get everybody but me. So you have to directly type in UFOCon2023.com and you'll find us. And it's a very small event, but I think it's very powerful. And I'll tell you why.
Okay.
I look at the roster of all of the other conferences, and if I see the same person's face up there one more time, I really am going to throw a fit because I can't deal with it anymore. I mean, how many times can you see Nick Pope speak? I mean, I love the man, but it's like, and how many times do you see Danny Sheen? I love the man.
Hmm.
I love all these guys. I know them all, personally. But
Yeah.
the problem is, every conference you go to, they're the guys sitting on the stage. Linda Moulton Howe,
Hmm.
same people all the time. And every once in a while, you go to these big conferences and they'll have two or three kind of new people, but they're not very edgy. They're pretty
Right.
mainstream.
Hmm.
And what I do is I try to get 80% of my people are people who have never spoken in front of a crowd before.
Right.
One of them, for example, hired a major artist to do all of her PowerPoint stuff for her. Because I
Hmm.
told them all, I said, just because you've never been on a stage doesn't mean you can't be a professional. So you get your act together and you get on my stage and you show them something amazing. Don't get up there and just, oh, I saw an ET, and get all afraid. Get your act together because this is what ET wants you to be doing, or I won't be asking you to be on my stage.
Right.
And
Well,
I know
that's
you can do it, because you wouldn't be there if I didn't know you could do it.
that's
So
amazing. That's even like how I even started here. It was like Joe Montaldo said, "Okay, well, you're gonna have a show on this night," and I says, "I go." He just goes, "I'm just gonna throw you in the fire. Talk for an hour." I was like, "Okay," and it worked out. Anyways, I'm over 3 years. Anyways, still going. So,
Oh, that sounds very similar to what happened to me at Rev Radio. I was pitching somebody else to be on the show, and I
mhm.
didn't know I was live on air doing the pitching. I thought I was talking to the owner of the network privately,
Yeah,
and all these people were on this round table. I didn't even know it, and so they said at the end of the round table, "We want her on the on the network." The heck with her person. And so then we agreed that my guy got 2 nights if I took one, because he
right.
wanted 2 nights, and he only had one night available for him. And he said,
Uh-huh.
"Okay, drive a hard bargain. You get one night, he gets two." I
All
said,
right.
"Okay." And then I figured I'd just quit, right? Because I didn't
Yeah,
want to do this. I have no time for this kind of stuff, right? That
yeah.
was 11 years ago. I used to throw
Wow.
up knowing that I had 22 people listening to me
Oh, jeez.
before every show. I'd be like, "Oh my God, how many people are listening?" And he'd go, 22. And I go, and I go throw up in the garbage can.
Oh, so we should also say what date is this going on there? UFOCon
Oh, yes. Okay.
2023.
UFOcon2023.com. You go there and it's March 17th, 18th, and 19th. It's 2.5 days. We start at 6 o'clock on Friday night and we go until about 8 o'clock or so on Sunday night. And it's in South San Francisco. And there is a shuttle to the airport to the hotel. The
Mhm.
hotel is it's about 6 blocks, maybe 8 blocks away from the airport. It's right at the same exit as the airport, so I mean we're literally at the end of a runway.
Oh,
So
okay.
you can't miss us if you're in the plane, but you kind of miss us if you're in a car.
Okay.
So you get a shuttle, come on over. I've got a discount price at the hotel until the 3rd of March. So
Hmm.
make your reservations at the hotel, even if you don't know if you're going to get there or not. Just make them, because we don't know. Who knows if we're going to get that kind of price? It may go up to $200. I mean, I got it at 129 from regularly 179 on the weekends.
Right.
So I got $50 off. That's the best I could do, but it's still a good price. And if you share with a friend, and two of you come, you get the double room for the same price.
Oh, wow.
So that's $75 a piece for the weekend, each night, which is great. And then my tickets are 160 right now for the weekend. But if you guys I will give you a special code for the Dell Show, the delicious stories at
Del-
gmail.com or whatever.
yeah.
Delicious recipes.
Yep.
We will give you guys a special code, and I'll create it after the show tonight, and it'll be ready by the time we air, right?
All right. Awesome. Yeah. Well, this will be airing Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which will be tomorrow night there.
Tomorrow night.
Uh,
Okay, so here's the code, you guys. I just came up with it. It's TDR UFO 23. TDR UFO 23. I got to
there we
write
go.
that down too. Text it to
That's
me,
cool.
Dell. Text it to me.
Yes, I will.
So
I'll write
the
it down
delicious
there.
recipes TDR UFO 23. And you'll get the whole weekend for $125.
Oh,
And
awesome.
that
That
includes
sounds.
your PayPal fee and everything.
Another part out of there is I'm not sure if you're doing this or not. So, what is people able to view this that aren't in country and stuff like that doing this, or maybe
No,
afterwards, or after?
sadly, I can't. And I'll tell you guys why. What's
Okay.
going to happen is eventually this conference will show up on my television network, which I'm starting.
Okay. Well, that's
So
good there.
for
Anyways,
now,
since yeah.
yeah, it'll be a couple of years before you're going to actually be able to see it, or at least a year. Because we're going to start dripping. I've got 12 years of conferences. So we're going to
Okay.
drip them out slowly and start in 2012 and just move our way on up.
Oh,
And I've
that
got
sounds
Time
awesome.
Travel Con, and I've got the Mind Control conferences, and I've got all kinds of things to put up on the network. So we're
Mm,
very excited. We're starting new shows as well that are going to premiere every week.
okay.
And one of them is called Orb Hunters, where we
Hmm.
go in and we debunk all these crazy things that people think are alien orbs.
Yeah.
But at the end of every show, we show you one that we cannot figure out what it is, and it's probably a real orb.
Oh,
So that,
wow.
yeah, I don't, because the thing is, there are real orbs and they do happen. It's just that
Hmm.
they're not every day and there's not 7 million of them in the picture, usually. I
Yeah.
mean, if there were, that would be great, but I haven't been able to find one picture yet with all those orbs in it that
Hmm.
is actually not just dew or mist or, condensation, you know?
Well, well, you got to think about if we go into sort of related stories that's going on in the news right now. We've had the Chinese spy balloon that went across the U.S. And then there's been five other balloons that have been sort of been picked up and shot down. One was actually in northern Canada in the Yukon, but another one off of Alaska, and then two more, I believe, that were in the upper 48 states. But this was sort of interesting is that I saw this go through on one of my Facebook posts. There is that people had gone through, and because the U.S. military wasn't saying whether this was a balloon or what it was, people's remember the game Telephone that was out there? One person started saying thing. Well, all of a sudden the narrative started going, well, these were actually UFOs. And I'm going, how does a balloon go to be in UFOs in a matter of like 2 days? And I always find that sort of interesting how people that weren't even involved didn't view it or something like that all of a sudden have the best interest, the best idea that no, it's actually UFOs happening.
Right, right. Dell, that isn't by happenstance. Let me
Hmm.
tell you. I've been dealing with the psyop around ufology for 50 years now. I
Right.
was about 13 or, so little maybe 15 when I really decided that there was something to all of this. I had psychic abilities and I knew there were aliens around, and I was a big proponent at 15 years old about the JFK assassination. As a matter of
Hmm.
fact, excuse me, I have been written about a chapter in a book about the JFK assassination. I produced all these JFK assassination conferences and the Lee Harvey Oswald birthday conferences and events like that. Because like JFK is my hobby and ufology is my life. That's how I describe it to people.
Okay.
So, but anyhow, the point I'm trying to make is I have seen the UFO community be infiltrated by the powers that be, and it's not as blatant as Men in Black anymore. It's
Right.
more like psych ops to make everybody just kind of go off and cult follow people. And the guy talks about the blue avian, so everybody runs off and he's the new hottest deal right now. And
Hmm.
then the next one comes along and he's dissecting alien parts in an underground bunker when he's actually in a drunk tank for 30 days. I mean, don't get me started because I do the research on these people that nobody else does. I vet them carefully and I
Hmm.
call people and I even pay for background checks and I pay my friends that are, what do you call that? They're like private investigators.
Private investigator. Yeah.
Go find out who these people really are because I'm not going to have
Hmm.
them speak at my conference if they're full of it, right?
Right.
So, bottom line is there's quite a group of people somewhere in that what we call the dark community that
Hmm.
doesn't want us to really get a handle on what ufology is all really about.
Hmm.
And at the end of the day, what they're trying to keep us distracted from, in my opinion, is the fact that it has to do with consciousness and the relationship between you and different dimensional entities.
Okay.
And that covers a wide variety of things because if you look back at Jack Parsons and Aleister Crowley and that crowd, they
Hmm.
were bringing in what they thought were demons
Right.
and
Dimensional
trying.
beings. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Mm.
And there's the whole story about them, not be able to close some kind of portal
Right.
and bringing in other dimensional beings from quote unquote hell or somewhere like that.
Hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, there's just so much more to this than people imagine. It's not just, oh, I saw a UFO in the sky. I wish it was
Right.
that simple. And
Hmm.
so do the guys trying to control our brains and how we think about it. And trust me, everything that gets on YouTube or Netflix or whatever else, they're so happy there's so much disinformation out there. Are you kidding? They just love it because it keeps us all distracted away from the absolute truth.
Right. Yeah. That is so interesting. Yeah. There's a person there. I guess there was a couple documentaries that had come out there about FBI and CIA infiltrating into MUFON and feeding false narratives to people that were going and talking to at these at some of these conferences, and which all seems like why not, right? If you're trying to hide something, yes, to go and feed false truths or false lies or whatever, or partial truths to things. And but that was sort of one thing there that that it was sort of talked about that MUFON had been infiltrated and it had gone sort of a different way, that it had gone away from what it was in 1969 to now 2023, that it's been sort of played, I guess, in a way.
Well, they were, and there were a lot of different directors that got played themselves, and there
Hmm.
were a lot of directors that actually were instigators of it. And I know who they were working for. I mean, it took me a while to figure it out and find
Right.
out for real. But yeah, we had people working for like DIA and for CIA and for different places like that
Yeah.
that were retired. But honey, you never retire from the company. I mean, is
Right.
everyone I know that's ever worked for them, they always have a job for you, even though you're getting the retirement paycheck, you know?
Right. Yeah. That's funny. But even going into this other thing when you're talking about that with Crowley with dimensional beings, and I've talked about this many times on my show, looking into the ancient past and the mythology and the lore that goes around this, and all these ancient stories, and whether they are religious stories or passed down pagan stories, and that they all talk about something that is a dimensional, not terrestrial. Like, if people don't understand, extraterrestrial means terrestrial is what we are, what we see on this earth. That's terrestrial. Extraterrestrial can be anything. Could be moon man, can be some dimensional being, can be something that we don't know about that isn't terrestrial. And I think people get that sort of mixed up when they hear extraterrestrial. They automatically go to alien. They
Absolutely. And they
yeah.
shouldn't, because this is one of the things I've been harping about for about 10 years now is that we have I'll give you an example. I put on a conference called UFO Con, the experiencer event. And I had everybody on stage was an experiencer, but they weren't all good experiences and they weren't all bad experiences. I had people
Mhm.
who'd seen reptiles, people seeing angels, people seeing devil looking beasts, and people that saw little elfie fairies. I mean, we had everything there. We had 15 different speakers, and it ran the gamut from white light beams to the little gray guys. One lady saw nothing but the mantids. I mean, we had everything that, oh, Puljarans, Palladians, I mean, you name it, they were
Mhm.
there. And it was a real big eye opener for a lot of people who came to it, because they were
Mhm.
like, yeah, but all I ever see are these little gray guys, or all I ever see are the Plajarans, or,
Right.
whatever. And they realized, I think it was a big, mind blower for everybody to realize you can be visited by anything.
Mhm.
There's so many levels and dimensions and what have you. It's just mind boggling to me. And if you think that there's only one kind of alien, you really got a problem, because you never know who's going to show up at your door.
This is something I was just thinking about the other day, and I've actually been thinking about it for quite a while. And well, we have like about 7.6 billion people currently population of the Earth right now, and it's amazing how big the Earth is. That population of the Earth could actually fit in the state of Texas, which is about 7.5 trillion square feet. So there's a lot of areas that are out there when you think about that condensing down. Like, the Earth is pretty big, but I was thinking about this. I said, you know what? Out of those 7.6 billion people, I bet you there's got to be at least one male, one female that are out of that would say freely go up and get probed and do any sort of experiment, because the people do that anyways today for anything. Says, yeah, hey, well, go ahead. I'll go and give you some semen. I'll give you some eggs. Yeah, see what you go and make. People will do that for free right now without
Oh,
being anything,
yeah.
right?
Oh, my God.
So I
Well,
was wondering, because the narrative was abduction, and they did this anal probing, and they took my semen or they took my eggs, and they produced this stuff in whatever test tube baby stuff like that. I bet you there's people out there would do that for a case of beer, and that they'd be happy with that.
oh, are you kidding me? Everybody I know that will volunteer for anything these guys are going to do. And,
Yeah.
but there is an exception to that. I know quite a few people that have had some terrifying experiences,
Hmm.
and they wish it would all stop.
Right.
But for some reason, I've never had the terrifying experiences, and
Hmm.
I begin to wonder some days, and I know I'm being judgmental at this, but
Hmm.
I was very clear with the aliens when I was younger that nobody scary gets to show up in my bedroom. I
Right.
just don't have time for that in my brain. Okay.
Hmm.
So I basically said, nobody's scary. Okay.
Yeah.
And so I never had a scary experience. So I'm
Hmm.
wondering if somehow the ETs prey on the people that are vulnerable, with the scary ones,
Yeah.
like the reptilians and the little grays that, take you away without your permission and all that.
Hmm.
Um, it seems that these people they're a victim to them in some way.
Right.
They've given their power over to them, and
Hmm.
maybe it's a lesson they have to learn to be commune with them first before they can get off to the next dimensional being that's quite a bit different and quite more loving.
Hmm.
um yeah, every ET that I've ever dealt with that it may have been ugly, they've always said to me, Lorien, keep your eyes closed. And
Hmm.
I'm like, okay, no problem. Maybe I don't want to see you.
Hmm.
And then they've always asked me for permission to do anything to me.
Right.
And I very seldom hear about that.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'm
This is
lucky.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. This is a part that like this network deals with the paranormal, deals with extraterrestrial, deals with mythology and lore, and this is a thought that has sort of been going through my mind. There is that maybe that they all are sort of the same sort of thing, but the way that they approach or they appear to you can be to whatever your mindset of thinking about something, because whether it's interdimensional being, whether it's a demon, an angel, an ET, or a god, they all sort of seem to do this sort of the same sort of thing in a way, appearing through a wall, coming through something. Then I get into this whole part about dream walking and the astral projection and people that can go and transfer energy, because we are basically a big battery, every human being is, with some sort of outside supercomputer, the consciousness that we have that can link into different things that we barely even touched on exploring or understanding.
Yes. No, I totally agree with you on that. And the part about them showing themselves to you is, I think they showed themselves to you as to what you can handle.
Okay.
And or maybe you've had a relationship with them in a different timeline, and you
Hmm.
already did the grays or the mantids, and now you get the Plajarans, the good looking guys that look like Fabio.
Oh yeah, yeah. Or the ones, yeah,
Maybe
the
I did
long
my
blonde hair,
penance
blue eyes.
already.
So
I got to tell you a funny story. I had a
okay.
girlfriend that was being abducted, and her other friend was being abducted too. And they were talking to me one day about it, and one says, "Yeah, I can't wait till the next time they take me. My guy looks like Fabio." She used to read romance novels. So
Okay.
this guy comes to her with this long blonde hair. He's tall, 6 feet, blue eyes, gorgeous, right?
Yeah.
And my other friend sees Jesus because she's a Christian, a full blown Christian. And she's
Hmm.
seen Jesus and goes, "Yeah, I love going with Jesus. Whenever he takes me on the ships, it's great." He introduces to me to all these little minions of his.
Oh
And I go,
really?
"What do they look like?" She goes, "Well, I don't remember, but all I know is they're little guys.
Yeah.
That's all I remember." So, there you go. You got two women willing to be taken
Yeah.
because they're seeing what they think is cool, and
Hmm.
she can't remember the grades at all.
Really? Wow.
Isn't
This
that
is this.
great?
Yeah, that actually goes into this whole thing, is that the interpretation of your own brain, because everybody's reality is only reality to themselves. You cannot explain it to somebody else. You can explain it, but you understand it how you understand it, and it's all individualized. And this goes into another part, is a big thing that was being talked about before the COVID pandemic happened was this disclosure that was supposed to be happening. And like Stephen Allen Greer, they had the movie come out. Disclosure is coming next year at this time. We're going to be finding out all these files that the U.S. military and the CIA, FBI, all this disclosures coming out. And then they had whatever that David Fravor of the Tic Tac video and stuff like that. That was about it. But it was disclosures happening. Humanity's ready for disclosure. They're going to explain it all. And the pandemic happened and nothing really happened at all.
Well, the government looked at that whole thing like, oh my God, why weren't we the first ones to come out with that?
Mm-hmm.
Because you got to remember, To the Stars Academy started the whole ball rolling in 2015 when Tom DeLonge put out that 30-second video that said,
right. And
great things are going to change.
Isn't his father FBI or CIA? Tom
I
DeLonge?
believe so. I thought he was military. I don't remember, to be honest with you, because I haven't paid much attention to him since To the Stars. When they first came out and I saw all the ex-CIA guys sitting on the stage, I said, okay, what are they trying to do? Are they trying to take over the narrative from the military? Is that what's going on here? It seemed like it was a clash of the two happening.
Yeah.
And I think I'm right, because ever since then, it's been kind of like Lou Elizondo's doing this. Now he's back in
another
the military.
one. Yeah.
Chris Mellon says this, and he's against the military, and this guy's doing that, and he's retired from the military. It's like, okay, so who's doing what to who? I don't know. But again, no matter how we look at it, Del, the problem we got is it's a psyop at any level. Okay.
Right.
If they've got this all planned out, they think we're dumb enough to believe that they're all pitted against each other. The reality is they're all friends.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, this is one narrative that, and I've been asking this question ever since I was probably 5 or 6 years old, when I found out about ETs and extraterrestrials and God and religion and stuff like that. And this whole part was always saying, well, we can't. Disclosure can't happen because humanity can't handle the truth, that there is something else out there, and religion will fall apart, and society will fall apart if an alien ship comes down. Geez, they've done movies about this through Hollywood about that, about everybody rioting. Oh no, there's something else out there. War of the Worlds, things like that, right? This whole thing that humanity isn't ready to understand about the galactic empire out there, and about all these different races. And I find that is a very, whether that's part of the psyop out there to make people that seem like they're more stupid and more gullible than what they are, because I think that anybody out there would want to know the truth. Any people that are truth seekers or something like that would, like, hey, I'd actually want to know, are they actually doing stuff out on Mars or on the moon? Is there actual U.S. have ships that are flying in conjunction with this, or are they in league with some sort of alien out of the how many races there are out there? Like this prime directive of Star Trek that's out there about no interference, I think is all BS, and it's all part of this thing there. Maybe it's to go and make the lie a little bit more and this confusion a little bit more.
Yeah, that's the interesting subject all on its own, because we can all communicate with ET anytime we want.
Okay.
The trouble is, how do you get our reality to mesh with their reality? And I've come up with some answers to this. My first thought always was, well, I know they did something to me physically that made it so I can communicate with them. Okay. Anybody who's a contactee, and I think maybe most of the people on this planet have been approached by ET. Now, whether they reciprocate or maybe they're not, being used in a program right now. Okay. Maybe these are all programs. Maybe even my consciousness connection with my ETs, which we have constant battles and downloads and all kinds of things going on in my life, which I will share readily in my book. But I'll give you one example. They took a thought out of my brain for 6 months, and we kept fighting about it, and I made them put it back in every day, for almost, not every day, but every 2 or 3 days. I finally drew a picture of what they were taking out of my head and set it by the side of the bed, so it was the first thing I saw when I woke up.
Right.
And then we had this whole battle. And then at the end of the battle, I said, "Why did you do that to me?" And they said, "Because we want you to understand how much control we have over human consciousness."
Mm.
Oh my God. That was like, whoa. They
Yeah.
can make you forget anything. So, how
Mm-hmm.
many people on this planet are actually having contact and don't even remember? And
Mm-hmm.
I got another great example for you. I have a friend who made a movie about Stan Romanek. Whether you believe him or not, that's another whole issue. But there is a scene in the movie where there is a gray ET standing on the porch outside the sliding glass window, right there, full body. You see him.
Hmm.
Okay. Now, I saw the movie like 6 times, and then I
Yeah.
went and watched it like a seventh time, and I didn't see the ET. It was a
Oh, they.
black blob with just little eyes. I didn't see him like I normally saw him. And I knew
Hmm.
something was wrong, and I couldn't figure out what it was. I kept thinking, what's wrong? I know that something's wrong with this picture, right? So I watched it again, and sure enough, a black blob with eyes. I'm like, "Ugh, that's not what I saw. What did I see?" I
Mm.
couldn't even remember what I saw. Okay.
Right.
And then I battled back and forth with them, and then finally I watched it again, and they let me see the ET just like I had seen him that whole time before.
Right.
And then they told me, "Guess what, Lorien? Not everybody can see the ET. All they see is a black blob. So ask your friend Jack what happened at the movie screening the very first time." So I called Jack. I say, "Jack, I got something to tell you. My ETs just told me they're not allowing people to see your ET in the movie."
Right.
He goes, "Well, that makes sense." I said, "Well, weren't people like running out of the theater going, 'Oh my God, there was a great ET. We finally got one on camera'?
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't everybody like freaking out?" And he was like, "Nobody freaked out." He goes, "I could not figure it out."
Huh.
So Jack says to me, "So what you're telling me is no matter how many times we play that movie, only certain people can see that gray ET in the window." I said, "Absolutely, only contactees."
Hmm. That's weird. That gets the whole. Geez, that goes into a whole different topic about
Talk about
free.
mind control. I
Yeah,
mean, this
free.
is I mean, hey, now whether they were fibbing with me, messing with me, screwing with
Mm,
me, I don't know,
yeah.
but it makes sense. And Jack was like, "Oh my God, that makes total sense. We've never been able to figure out why people just start like going, 'Has the military seen that ET?'" Like,
Right.
you can't figure it out. So now it makes sense,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Well, if you figure that's going on there, and then you look at the whole thing with U.S. military with the MK Ultra, and then whatever was ever done in Nazi Germany and Russia and stuff like that, with manipulating people's thoughts and planting seeds. What was the movie there, Rosebud or whatever, Operation Rosebud or whatever, right? That you go and trigger. Uh, put in thoughts into people's brains. That gets into really scary territory, and that stuff is actually documented and actually real that they actually did that. And there's people
You
that
bet.
like you got their what was that? The Unabomber. He was a person of MK Ultra. Charles Manson. Another thing there, but also then when you deep dive into these people's families and family tree of who they were connected with, and even with a lot of stars that are out there too, or I guess media stars that are out there, when you see how these people rise to fame and who they're connected to, and the companies that are connected to them, or the companies that they go, you get into some very dark territory out there, and you start to wonder about what is actually going on, and that's I find that stuff immensely fascinating, to find out all these connections of people that are
Well,
running the
mind
show.
control, yeah, mind control, the MK Ultra program, and all that was my forte.
Hmm.
And I may venture down that path again, but I did it for 3 years with my super soldier mind control and targeted individual
Hmm.
conferences.
Yeah.
And and I hate to say this because I sound like a crazy woman when I do, but people died because of those conferences.
Oh, for sure.
And yeah, and it was not fun nor pretty nor pleasant. And I
Hmm.
will just give you guys a quick example of the last time they bothered me. I did my last the last one, I don't remember. It was one of the conferences, and yeah, it was the last one. because this is why I stopped doing it. I was in Rachel, Nevada at the Little Alien driving home from my last conference, my last mind control conference. And I got into our room and the air conditioner didn't work in my part of the trailer that we were staying in. And I
Right.
left the back door open, not to the other guys' rooms, but to my room. The back door wide open and my bedroom door wide open. I would never have done that in a million years, and I have no idea why I did it. Okay. I
Hmm.
still to this day do not know why I did that because I would never do that. Okay. Because I know
Hmm.
better. I'm not, whatever. It looked out over to the desert, and there was nothing there. So maybe I thought it was safe enough. I don't know. So I wake up about 5 or 6 hours later, and I can't move my tongue. And I'm like, what's going on? I can't swallow. It hurts like there's no
Hmm.
describing how much pain I was in. I
Yeah.
run into the bathroom. I'm lifting my tongue up, trying to see what's going on. All I can see is a lot of red. And I'm like, oh my God. And I didn't have my glasses at the time and I just couldn't see it. Thank God I had some Vicodin with me for my migraines. I get a little bit every month for my migraines, and I had
Hmm.
it, and I just like, oh my God, I need this right now. I started taking it so I could drive home. I was in so much pain. I couldn't swallow, and it hurt like hell. Okay. So I get home. It takes me about 10 hours to get home because I'm in Rachel, Nevada, and I got to go all the way to San Francisco. So I finally get home and I have my roommate. I'm holding my tongue up and he's taking a flashlight and he's looking at it and he's going, "Oh my God, it looks like a that two-pronged thing, a taser." He goes, "It looks like a taser under your tongue. Like there's two holes and they're
Uh-huh.
perfectly symmetrical and they're very deep." And he's saying all this to me. I'm listening to him and I went, "Oh my God." And then I hear a voice in my head say this: "We told you not to talk."
Oh, wow.
As clear as a bell. It's not him, and it's somebody in my head saying, "We told you not to talk."
Hmm.
That was
That's
it.
great.
That was the last one I ever did. I just said, that's it. These guys can project voices into my head and they
Hmm.
can laser my tongue. And I did feel drugged when I woke up.
Right.
I thought I was just really tired.
Hmm.
But now that I looking back on it, I realized I had been drugged.
Yeah, I guess that ends up going into this whole thing because there's a lot of oh geez, the amount of stuff that I've watched on the internet and stories I've gone through there with people that sort of hit on these sort of topics of company government manipulation and testing on the populace is it's widespread. It's not just here in North
Oh,
America and in the
exactly.
U.S. and stuff like that. Like if you look at what they did in the Vietnam War, they tested chemicals out on their own soldiers. They did the whole thing there in the San Francisco area with hookers going and drugging Johns with LSD to see how they would work. The Tuskegee Airmen, what they tested on them with syphilis, and this is just part of my conspiracy theory. People that are out there listening, this is my own opinion on there. This whole COVID drug stuff that came out, that this was a mass worldwide test on people. Whether you want to believe that or not, I don't really care. It's just my opinion out there that you don't bypass certain procedures that you've done for millennia, and then all of a sudden you change the script and say this is how we're doing things. And I think it's going to be years coming into the future here. We're going to see things that were done and people with new ailments that they were not predicted with, but it was all a big test for them to know what they could do. And I think
Well,
that's my
hey,
opinion.
look, it was a test on so many levels, and I totally agree with you, Dell, because first of all, will you wear a face mask or not? I refused to wear one, and it was really tough. I did, like, I'd stand at Dunkin' Donuts late at night, right before they close, and I'd open the door and I'd ask the girl, "If I come in and I stand 6 feet away from you and I just kind of throw you the money? Will you let me come in without a mask? She looks
Right.
around. She's like, yeah, I'll let you in, but hurry before I get caught.
Hmm.
These are the kind of things I was doing because first of all, I can't wear a mask. I can't breathe as it is. The last thing
Yeah.
I need is that.
Yeah.
And so, but I finally devised though, so I could fly because I had to fly. I had to fly for work and different
Hmm.
things. And instead of losing my job, I created a mask that had a wire in it that I could pop out like this.
Yeah.
So it only go across just the bridge of my nose and it was open like this. And I'd blow the air from the plane
Yeah.
right down into those two holes and it would billow and I'd have fresh air.
Right.
And it was crazy. And then the stewardesses were always looking at me going, there's something wrong with her mask, but they never said a word to me. It was crazy. And so, but I did have to be compliant then, and it was only like
Hmm.
10 times. And every time I did it, I asked God for forgiveness for being weak. Because, sometimes you just got to pick your battles. But
Yeah.
Trader
Yeah.
Joe's, same thing. I walk in and I go, I can't wear a mask. Will you guys let me in? I promise I know exactly what I'm doing. I'll be out of here in 5 minutes. And I go right before closing.
Yeah.
So they there'd be hardly anybody in there and they didn't care.
Right. Well,
But yeah, I mean, it was a whole psyops on whether you would comply or not. Really.
exactly that was there's the key word right there, compliance. They said how far we can push a populace into compliance to follow things, and then to see how one side can go and fight the other side into this false narrative of saving the people. And I
Mhm.
just found this so I found this so interesting, of people that are supposed to be learned, and how they just easily just said, government says this and they're the experts. It says, what about all these experts? Oh yeah,
Yeah,
they don't count because they're not our experts. And that
I,
and I
I
went,
know.
oh my god! I said, this is getting crazy. That just totally unbelievable. And that's where I get this whole thought about when people sort of say things, whether it is ET, extraterrestrial, paranormal, and stuff like that. They get into this belief system that they totally believe this one sort of thing, and they don't look widely out at everything else that's involved in it. And that's one thing that I do. Like, Laura Lee hates that I'm so skeptical and stuff like that, but I want to go and find out how I can recreate it. I got into magic a long time ago, learning how tricks were done, because you can fake things so easily now too, especially with computers. You can fake an image
Uh,
on video so easily, and to go through things, and
well, that's
especially
why we're doing yeah, it's exactly what we're doing our show because I
Mhm.
can't believe how many people fall for this fake stuff that's out there on YouTube. There's a woman, I'm not going to say her name right now, and I probably won't say it on the show either, but
Mhm.
she has over 250,000 followers. And
Right.
she said that there was a ship coming out of this bay up in Vancouver. Well, we did our due diligence. We sent a
Mhm.
friend of ours over to the hotel she said it was coming from. We looked at all the security cameras, all the footage she had, found our own footage of this place.
Mhm.
Turns out that ring of white light that she saw was a puff of vapor coming from the laundry room of the hotel's pipe that had a little leak in it. And it would come out in these little puffs like this, and right in
Okay.
front of the security camera. And she said it was coming out of the lake way in front of it.
Oh,
And it was
forced
just condensation, vapors.
forced perspective of camera work, right?
She's telling all these people it's a UFO coming out of the water in Vancouver Bay. I'm like, oh
Oh,
my God,
wow.
please. And she's got 250 followers. I can't get 100 followers, right?
Oh,
Because,
wow.
whatever. And to me, it doesn't matter because,
Mhm.
the point is if you want the truth, you will always find me. That's
Mhm.
my theory. If you listen to my radio show, you're listening to it because you want as close to the truth as I can get
Yeah.
without being killed.
Well, that's one thing that's a little character I have down on the bottom there with the question mark there. I always say,
Oh, I love him.
question everything. I says, and that's the thing that I have this saying that I told Laura. I said it many times on my show here and on her show there. I says, as a little kid, you're questioning everything. It gets to being you're questioning so much that people get annoyed that you're asking questions. Why this? Why that? You go to school, you start getting told the questions and the answers. After school, you no longer have to do the questions and the answers because you've learned everything. You've gotten your diploma. You've learned all the questions and answers. You stop asking questions. There's only those few that go afterwards to start re-asking questions again about why things are. People get into this rut, this another brick in the wall in the line of day-to-day life. They stop asking stuff, and then they just allow everything to happen. The government's telling me to do this. This is why my taxes are this. This is why inflation is this. And they just accept. They don't ever start questioning ever
Exactly.
again. And then they wonder why. Well, why is milk $7 a carton or a liter at the grocery store? Why is eggs $10 a dozen? It says, well, you're not looking at the question. You're not asking questions anymore of who's all involved to why it got to this point. Why is gas $5 a gallon? Well, ask the questions. Why is that going on over there? Start asking questions. Don't just accept the narrative. That's one thing that
Yeah.
I've been pushing for a long time. Well, 3 years since I've been doing this show.
Well, that's the most important thing to do. That is what I think that's all of our responsibility as podcasters and talk show hosts or whatever we are. I think
Mhm.
it's our responsibility to get out here and get people thinking and asking questions and
Right.
looking for the real truth instead of the truth that they feed you, you
Hmm.
know, because they
Yeah.
feed us the truth all the time, expecting us to swallow it, and we don't. If you're
Right.
listening to you or me, they're not, our crowd knows better.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
God.
They say like, don't take my word for it. Go out there and do your own research. I says, I'm giving you a starting point, but people out there have to do it for themselves, right? You can't tell anybody to. You can just show them the lake, but you can't make them drink from the water or whatever. However that saying goes there, but we do have a couple of minutes there left here. You want to go and tell them a bit about where they can find
Oh,
the Lorien
well,
perspective, where they can do
okay.
that? Yeah.
First of all, UFOCon2023.com. Very interesting speakers. I will give you one quick antidote. One of the guys came last year to the conference, and he had such a good time that he finally decided he wanted to come out with the truth about his contact. And so this year he's going to be on our stage, and he was just an attendee last year.
Oh, awesome.
He's a professional, in the food industry and the solar industry and what have you, and speaks a
Hmm.
lot there and makes PowerPoints. So he called me up. He says, "I know you don't know me or remember me, but I really can do it." And I'm like, "Okay, great, go for it." I mean, this is the kind of event it is where we all get together and hang out and meet each other and have fun together. We go for UFO pancakes at IHOP on Sunday night after the conference is over. About 80 of us went last year. It was lots of fun. And the discount code for you guys will be TDRUFO23
Yep.
at UFOCon2023.com. And if
Yes.
you want to listen to me, I'm over on Revolution Radio Monday nights, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern on Studio A, and the show is called The Fenton Perspective.
Awesome. That's great. And you know what? I want to thank you very much for being a guest on the delicious recipe there this week. I said it was a really enjoyable. There's so many different roads to go through and topics to go through. Like I have a whole thing about dealing with the energy industry and global warming. I
Oh
was
my God. I,
I was an
I've been,
environmental engineering student, so
no,
I have a lot of stuff with that.
I got to
So
get my buddy Glenn on your show then. You'll love
yeah.
him. His name's Glenn Rhodes. Okay, just remind me later, okay?
Oh, sounds good. So, everybody else that's out there listening, this has been the delicious recipe. This will be airing Thursday. This is just right after the Super Bowl and after Valentine's Day. That's tying with an N, anyways, not the times. And thanks all for listening there. And we'll check in next week. I think next week I have returning guest Rachel Dodds. We're going to be talking about different things about her life and business and stuff like that. A really interesting part there dealing with cons and stuff like that and manipulation. So tune in for that one there next week. Thank you all for listening, and thank you, Lorien, again there for joining me.
Peace.